Welcome back. It's been exciting, man. We've been doing this back to back. So, and in our last episode, we were talking about public participation and what some of the responsibilities citizens have and the legal framework therein. So, I think we can pick it up from there and talk about the avenues, maybe on how, or the citizens, how this citizen can participate and when will the citizen have the opportunities to participate. And then later, of course, we talk deeply on the legal, some of the legal provisions in our constitution. So, karibu sana.
Sure. Thank you, Kili. So, in the last episode, I mentioned that the responsibility to facilitate public participation lies with the government.
True
But
that.
also as a citizen, we also have a responsibility. So, government here, and in a democratic country like Kenya, government should be for the people, by the people, and like all that, you know how to define that.
Yes.
So as the people who are at the central focal point or at the focal point of running our government, we also have a responsibility.
Yes.
So our constitution and other legal legal instruments like the PFM and others have created avenues for public participation. Okay?
Yes.
So one thing that needs to be or needs to come out clearly is that the most of the time public participation are aligned or is aligned to the budget making process. So you remember the dates that we talked about yesterday.
Yes.
So be it in September when the ADP is out, when the CBROP is out, the first quarter implementation report is out. So the public participation is normally aligned to those dates. Those are now the times you'll find invitation from different county governments inviting the citizens to participate in these forums. Now, public participation at the county level happens in two levels. Yes. So there's public participation that is normally organized by the executive. So that is the CEC in charge of finance and economic planning at the county level would invite the public to come and give their views on a document that the county has developed. Or in other, and this is good practice.
Yes.
So in other counties, you'd find that now the CEC sends its team to the field to go and collect views before they compile the document.
As opposed to now developing this and subjecting to public participation.
Exactly. So in other counties, it's the other way. So they call on us, the technocrats, to sit down and draft for them. But in good practice or countries where they practice the meaningful public participation.
Those who have adopted and really love the spirit of public
So what they do is that the executive, when they know today is, say, 1st of September and we need to develop our ADP, they send people to the field to go and collect views from each and every region or area of that county. And then they come back with that information, compile it in a document, and then this document is again taken back to the people to confirm that we were here a couple of weeks or days ago and you gave us these priorities. Please, can you confirm in the compiled draft document if your views have been correctly captured?
If it is the true reflection of your views.
Yes. So, but anyway, what is happening now? That is the ideal situation.
Setup, yes.
But what is happening? Kwa grao vitu ni different.
Indeed.
So what's been happening is now the counties would develop the documents. So they come up with the drafts. That is the executive. And then these drafts would be subjected to public participation. So normally there are different avenues. So the first avenue that exists for the people is through the sector working groups. So I said yesterday in our last episode that there is what we call the sector plans that inform the CIDP, the ADP, and the development priorities for that particular county. So the sector working groups, this is a group of stakeholders coming together with a common interest for a particular sector say it education. So everybody who is interested in matters education would come together through the sector working group. And then these sector working groups are normally chaired by the CECs. So the county executive committee members. So they chair the sector working groups, and then they have their technical officers to guide the conversations.
So each sector has...
Yes, each sector has their working group.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So each sector would meet and then discuss their development priorities for that particular period of time. So once all this is done, then now the county comes back, compile all that information and put it in a document. And then this document is now submitted to the assembly. Now the assembly through the MCAs also conduct their own public participation. Okay? So the second one is through the MCAs. So the MCAs would take these documents and also conduct public participation. So they go to the people, because now the final say is with the people. And who is the representative of the people? It's the MCAs.
MCAs at the county, yes.
So the final say is with the people. And this is something that I think we've also not appreciated as a country, because MCAs only do three things, or the parliament, their role is only three. So one is oversight, two is representation, and three is legislation.
Yes.
So representation, it means that they represent us. But before they approve any legislation, they need to come and ask us that you sent me as your representative to the county assembly. And now the executive has submitted this particular document. Please, can you confirm that whatever priorities that you had given to them is included in this document?
Yes.
So that's why they do it. Okay?
Yeah.
So the each MCA would go to their respective wards and conduct public participation. Okay? So once they have done that, then now all that information is collected by their technical team, and now they make amendments to the document based on the feedback that they have received, and have a joint sitting with the executive to harmonize as well. And then now the document and the report of public participation is presented to the full house of the county assembly. And then it's adopted or rejected with amendments. You understand?
Yes.
So it's not automatic, as I said. They should not just be approving.
Approval, yes. I remember that in our last episode.
They should not just be approving. They should be, it's a process. So before they say yes, they need to look at the issues, whether it reflects the aspirations of the people.
Yes.
Then the other avenue for public participation, and I think this has been underutilized, it's called the CBEF. The County Budget and Economic Forum. So
that's
in
another elephant.
Yes.
Yes.
In our PFM Act that created the CBEF, and even in the County Government Act, the CBEF is meant to be a forum where we bring everybody in that particular county to discuss matters, budgets, and economics. You understand?
Yes.
But this has not been fully utilized. So the CBEF, the structure is, so the CBEF is chaired by the governor. You can see the level of participation.
Yes.
So the governor is the chair of the CBEF. And then we have all the CECs sitting as as members of the CBEF. Then we have representatives from all the groups and stakeholders, be it the faith-based organizations, the civil society, the unions like the teachers union, the nurses union. We have academicians, we have youth groups, women groups, a private sector, businesses, the SMEs, PWD. Like, it's a forum for everybody to be represented. But I would dare ask, how many counties have operationalized the CBEF or even established it in the first place? Yeah. Very few. Very few. And normally they cite a challenge of resourcing. And I think that's a gap in our legislation in the PFM, because now we have such a very good forum, but we have not been able to think through how to resource and facilitate their meetings, because these people need to meet, and when they meet, they need to have a venue. Okay, we can utilize the county government facilities, but then there are, there's the logistics. And all that, there's the logistics surrounding these meetings that is not well defined how it's going to be resourced by the PFM. And I think but then if you look at the same PFM says that a percentage of all the county revenues, actually 2%, should facilitate public participation. So whatever the county is getting,
Collect, yes.
from shareable revenue, from taxes, levies, equitable share, and all that, 2% of it should facilitate what? Public
participation.
But how many have been able to utilize that? So when they say there's no money, then I wonder, okay, so there's no money, but then the PFM has defined where you can get your money. So even the CBF and for creative counties, they can utilize that avenue to ensure that there's money, a percentage as provided for by the PFM that should facilitate public participation. And it doesn't have to be what has been defined by the PFM. Just create some resources. Say every financial year we are setting aside this amount of money to facilitate public participation.
So I think it boils down into the spirit and the goodwill.
The goodwill, exactly. The goodwill to engage the people. Yeah. That's what is lacking. Because I don't think it's a question of resources or insufficient resources. Sure. No, it's a question of the goodwill. Is the governor or the county leadership willing to engage with the people on priority issues, or it's just about politics?
Lakini tunapata pesa ya homecoming.
Hiyo ikosekanangi. Hiyo every year utapata when we elect homecoming, they'll splash of hundreds of millions.
Indeed.
Just for homecoming. But then they lack resources to facilitate meetings with the people who elected them into office. You can see how badly we are doing as a country.
Sure.
So that's the third avenue.
Yes.
Then, of course, there are other avenues like public barazas. So public barazas, so this could be maybe by the area chiefs, the county administrators. They can also call people to forums. And then there are also other forums like focusing on specific issues. So, for example, if the county committee or the county assembly committee on, say, roads is meeting, so they can also facilitate public participation with the people. So, I mean, the space for public participation is well carved out in our legal framework.
Sure, I also
think,
and
the responsibility of the people is also well defined.
Yeah,
and the avenues for public participation are also well defined. Now, what is lacking probably is the information. Yeah.
True.
What is lacking probably is the awareness.
Yes.
Okay. Because if, for example, and you've, in countries that have attempted to enact public participation legislation, they would say or put it in the two most widely circulated dailies or newspapers, and then radio, whatever, and all that. But then I dare ask, in my village, how many people read newspapers? So if you put it in the newspapers, for example, in the dailies, so how many people would be able to get that information? So I think the big question here, and I think this is a conversation that we need to have with our leaders, is to try and contextualize what can work best for you. I've seen even in other serious counties where they have WhatsApp groups for each village, like they have WhatsApp groups. So now you see that?
Yes.
So in this WhatsApp group, they would invite people directly through these WhatsApp groups. Now, as I wind up on the avenues, now there's a problem. And the biggest problem here is the issue of predetermined list of public participation. It's a huge. Now you'll find that you go to a forum and you find a list of 500 people already registered. And they'll be the same people throughout the 5 years that government would be in the office. Now, I ask myself, okay, so you already know who should be participating, and these people get direct invites. So why are you locking people out?
Sure.
What are you trying to hide? And when they go there, it's not. It's just. In fact, it's just a tick box exercise.
Rubber stamping.
They'll go there, sign, 20 minutes, the forum is done. They have discussed CIDP, which is over 300 pages, by the way. In 20 minutes, they have discussed CIDP of 320.
Wow.
Ask me, what value did they add to that particular
Nothing.
document? Nothing. Or I've seen also instances where, because they need the crowd to report for the cameras and to take videos and pictures, so they go to a marketplace on top of their vehicles and mount a loudspeaker. Hello, we're having a public participation on this. So ask me, I'm busy as a business person, selling my wares or my products. So would I pay attention to whatever you're telling me? No. And would I be able to give you meaningful contribution from my side? No. So I mean, we've made a big joke out of it, but it's a very progressive idea, and it's a gift to us as a country in terms of how we conduct our processes and how we ensure that we get to enact policies or pass policies that reflect the views of the people.
Okay.
So I think in terms of their venues are there. In terms of the legal framework, it's there, and we shall see the provisions in different legal instruments. What is lacking is the goodwill from our government to facilitate these processes and have honest and meaningful discussion with the people.
As we wind up on this public participation, can an individual participate, and how can they participate?
Very interesting question.
Yes.
You know, I picked an issue with just the current Finance Act 2023. And the reason why I picked an issue is because when I read, and I love the Constitution, because after the Bible, it's second. Okay?
Yes.
So when I read the Constitution, and especially Article 1, it says the sovereign power belongs to the people.
Of the Republic of Kenya.
Of the Republic of Kenya, and
yes,
shall be exercised within the confines of the Constitution.
Yes.
Now, you've asked a very important question. Can individuals participate in public participation? The Constitution does not recognize organizations. It does not recognize civil society, organization, private sector. No, it recognizes Kili and Osedo. It's the people. You understand?
Yes.
So the people should, in fact, it's the people to give their views, not the organizations, not this. The organizations only act as a means to enable the people to give their views,
yes,
but should not replace the place of people in giving their views or in participating in public participation. Now, the reason why I picked an issue with the current Finance Act, the most controversial, is when you would agree with me that it was one of the most discussed finance bills ever since.
Indeed.
It was once, and I was trying to analyze why it attracted a lot of attention. And I think it came from a background of a government that had positioned itself as the hustler government.
Yes.
A government that is pro the people, not pro the people down there, the poor people. So when they drafted their first finance bill, everybody was like, okay, now I think because this is our government and it's for the people, the mamambogas and the watu wa boda boda, now they'll lower their tax rates.
Yes.
Oh, it was the opposite.
They are shocked.
The taxes went up threefold, fourfold, I don't know how many times.
Yes.
So that's why it attracted a lot of attention from the people. And I'm happy it did, because for the very first time, I saw a very woke-up population, a population that was very willing to engage both offline and online. In fact, I don't know how many online spaces I participated in, just to try and enlighten the people on some of these provisions or the proposals. Now, when that exercise ended, we didn't get everything that we wanted. In fact, I think we only got maybe 20-30% of what we wanted as the people. The government still carried the day, and I dare ask whose interest they are representing, because if they are representing my interest, I don't feel like they are representing my interest.
Yes.
The document reflected their interest, not my interest. Now, when they passed the document, they passed the finance bill, it became an act on 26th. It was enacted, 26th of June, it was enacted, assented upon by the president. I remember very well. And so there we were. And then I went further to look, okay, so we had a very robust, in fact, I think as an organization, we even went to the community. We did a lot of sensitization in the informal settlements of the country. We went to Nakuru, different parts of this country. We did even a survey.
Yes.
The famous survey of 93% Kenyans rejecting the finance bill. That was done by our organization. So when we did all that, and then now, it shocked me when it was passed. And looking at the document that was passed, I don't think only 20-30% of what we had proposed was captured or considered. And then I went further to what could have been the problem. Could it be that there were some proposals that never reached the parliament, or what happened? I think I remember personally, I appeared before the committee and made submissions. So when we did that, I went now to check at the report of the committee, the public participation report of the Finance and Economic Planning Committee of the National Assembly.
Yes.
And they documented very well that they received, I think, about 1,084 comments or proposals from the people, which was quite big because from the previous experience, it's never been that big.
Yes.
Then they detailed how they responded to each and every proposal.
Yes.
Then to my shock, they said that 67 Kenyans, individual Kenyans, also sent their proposal, and then they put a full stop. I asked myself, okay, so for organizations, you detailed how you responded to them. But for individuals, you just say, you just acknowledge, but what did you do to them?
Sure.
So I asked, in fact, I remember in a forum, I even asked the chair of the committee, Honorable Kuria, Mheshimiwa, I think you're doing a disservice to the people, because the Constitution recognizes the people, not the institution. So if there, if 67 Kenyans sent directly their proposal, you need to also tell us what were their proposals and how did you handle them.
Yes.
That is the spirit of public participation. I need to get the feedback.
Indeed.
But if you're not giving me a feedback as an individual Kenyan, but now if I go as an organization, you'll give me attention, then we are losing out. We are missing the point, because the Constitution talks about the people of Kenya, not the organizations of the country.
Indeed.
So just in a nutshell, the place of people in the Republic of Kenya in terms of democracy and development is well defined. So individuals can participate in these processes. The organizations, I know the civil society is doing a very good work by organizing citizens in their different groups to give their views. But that does not stop my mother down in the village or my papa down in the village to send his comment directly to the committee or to the government. The place of people is well defined. So lastly on that, I think one advice that I would give to the people of Kenya is that we need to organize more. We need to bring more voices together. You know, when I'm talking as Oselo, I think there's a chance to ignore my voice. Indeed. But when we are 100 people, you cannot ignore us.
Yes.
Yeah. Where 2 or 3 people are gathered, there is God.
There's
so I think
God
they are I think they are using that. So
yeah, sure.
if we can be able to bring more voices together, so be it a youth group, women group, just organize more, like bring more people so that you are speaking in one voice.
Organized taxpayer groups.
Exactly. So yes. You just bring people together so that whatever agenda you are championing is from a more collective voices than individual and broken and disjointed, because normally say government thrives in our disunity.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the truth. When we are so disorganized, the government would be very happy. But when we are more organized, and I would want to see a more organized citizens, and I'm happy with what Power 254 is doing with the artists, with the youth groups, with the different groups in the society, just to organize them so that they can speak with one voice. And I think that's the way to go.
Asante sana. I think we've explored much on public participation and responsibility of the citizens. Now, I didn't miss some of the provisions, especially the legal framework that supports or the structures that are there that keeps the public participation, of course, the budget process itself, the county budget process and all the budget making process holistically. So, so what are some of these provisions in the Constitution and any other legal framework? Yes.
Thanks, Kelly. So I would say that as a country, we do not lack policies. What we lack is the policy implementation.
Operationalization
and
implementation.
I think we have enacted policies for almost everything. We've legislated virtually everything. Everything has a policy in place. So the problem is not the policy. If you look at the policy environment in the country, the legal framework, and even by the virtue that we have a constitution, a democratically voted in constitution. You know, on the 28th of August 2010, people woke up and said, yeah, we want a new constitution. Okay?
Yes.
And we remember at Kasarani when the late President Mwai Kibaki, stood and said, yeah, I give you the new constitution. Okay? Yeah. We are very happy. So even by the mere fact that we have the constitution, we do not lack the legal impetus to anchor some of these things that we are doing. So the provision is there. So if you talk about the budget, for example, if you look at Article 10, Article 210, I mean, it's very robust on how we are supposed to conduct our budgets. It's very robust. It has given the legal framework for how budget should be made. And then we went further because now to operationalize or to breathe life to the Constitution, we went further to enact other legislations like the PFM Act of 2012.
Yes.
You understand? So the PFM in different sections has given us the step by step. In fact, if you look at all the steps that I was mentioning yesterday in our last episode, all that is from the PFM. So it has given us a step by step, bullet by bullet, how we should conduct our budget. Okay?
Yes.
So if we talk about the legal anchorage or the legal framework, it's already there. Then issues to do with if you talk about now the County Government Act, we also went further to even create an act guiding how counties should conduct their businesses. You understand? Yes. So different sections of that particular document also gives provisions on how public participation should be conducted. For example, Section 174 is very clear on how the county should facilitate public participation. Okay?
Yes.
So we do not lack legal provisions. We do not lack legal framework. What we are lacking is one, strict adherence to the legal provisions, and two, implementation of the law. We have not adhered to the rule of law. We are just doing our things, I don't know, to suit our own interest. But the law has given us a very robust step-by-step on how we should be able to conduct. So, if you look at even the different offices that have been created, the accountability offices, like yes. For example, the Office of the Controller of Budgets. You look at the Auditor General's office. You look at the Commission on Revenue Allocation. All this is anchored in the Constitution. Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, the legal framework is there. And I remember in a training recently, somebody asked me, so Seda, you're saying as a citizen, I have the right and responsibility to hold my government accountable and to participate in the processes. So how do I do that? or what gives me the strength to do that? Like what gives me what protects me? Like what gives me the right to do that? And I told him, if you cannot remember anything, just remember Article 1 of the Constitution.
Yes.
If you cannot remember, I know a law is not everyone's cup of tea.
Yes.
But if you cannot remember all the legal provisions, just know that the Article 1 of the Constitution protects your sovereignty as the citizen of this country, unless you are not a citizen of the country of Kenya.
Yes.
Okay? So the Article 1 has provided for, if you look at Article 10 on the national principles of good governance, if you look at Article 196, which talks about public participation, you look at Section 174. In fact, if you go to the PFM Section 35, there are so many. So it's well protected in the law. Okay?
Yes.
So what the citizens needs to understand is that our place in how the government conducts its business is well protected. In fact, it's ring-fenced. Nobody can take away that right from us. Okay?
Yes.
So we need to exercise our powers that we've been gifted by the Constitution to ensure that the government works for us, not against us. Yeah.
True. Thanks very much. I think it's at this moment it's also prudent just to mention some of these acts and some of the provisions.
Yeah.
County Government Act of 2012.
Yes.
Sections 87 to 92. I think
22, yes.
To 92, 87 to 92.
True.
Public Finance Management Act of 2012.
Yes.
Which I think was revised in 2016.
2015?
2015, yes. And then the Constitution, of course, as all.
Yes.
Articles 210, Articles 174.
Yeah.
And then the fourth schedule that speaks
about the devolved functions of government.
Of the county
yes.
government.
So that is this fourth section or the fourth schedule. You know, the Constitution has different schedules.
Yes.
But the one that speaks on the separation of the functions or the division of function between the national and county is the section 4. So if you look at that, I think I've challenged people because you'll find somebody asking for maybe a function that is not a county function. And it's because we lack the information about what is the county function and what is the national government function. So if the citizens can go through the fourth schedule, then they would be able to see that markets, county roads, all that belongs to the. But if it comes to policies, the policies are a sole responsibility of the national government. Yes. What the counties do is only to domesticate some of these national policies or come up with the county-specific policies to legislate on their own issues. Okay? Yes. So, for example, a county can decide that they are going to legislate on liquor because liquor management is with the county. Yes. So they can come with a liquor bill that talks about licensing and all these operations of the liquor business. Or they want to legislate on something like agriculture, which is heavily devolved. Yes. So on agriculture, like how to deal with the smallholder farmers, to deal with the cess and all that. So all that is in the Constitution. Then lastly, we need to talk about the Access to Information Act of 2016.
Indeed.
You know, and I mentioned that one challenge that we are facing with public participation is access to information, access to these documents. These documents are hidden like a bank. Zinafichwa kama bangi, and you would ask yourself, okay, it's a document, it's a public document. Budgets are public documents, so why would you not be willing to share them? So I remember there's an organization that has been doing county budget transparency surveys, CBETs. Huh? Yeah. So when they do the county, they're just trying to see how transparent are the counties in terms of giving freely. It's called open disclosure of information in the Act. So which counties are disclosing information freely without me going to ask that now, please, can I get a copy of the ADP? The approved ADP. Can I get a copy of the CFSP? So the Access to Information Act that is being implemented by the Office of the Ombudsman, or the CAJ, that is the Commission on Administrative Justice, is a very good legal document. It's a very good policy that helps us to now unlock some of these issues around access to information. And should you find any challenge accessing any particular document, you can write to the Ombudsman. Request for information. In fact, I think it's even online. Just go online or just write an email or even a letter or walk to any Huduma Center. I know they have also decentralized.
Yes.
So go to any Huduma Center and say County X and Y is holding information from us as the citizen and we cannot be able to access. So please, can you help us? They'll help you. I've tried it before. It worked and I know it can work. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, so access to information, I think it's a very important legislation among other legislations and policies that we have as a country. But as we wind up on this, I want to bring out something that is bedeviling us as a country. Imagine 13 years after we promulgated our constitution and even made provisions, very good provisions for public participation, we've never had a chance to enact our public participation legislation at the national level. We do not have what we can call the national public participation legislation, bill or an act. I know there have been several attempts,
yes,
but they have all failed. And you'd ask yourself, why is it failing all the time? Whenever there's an attempt to legislate or to enact a public participation, it will be defeated on the floor of the House. Why? It's because they don't want us to participate. So we have to find our ways. It's either we are on the table or on the menu. And for me, I don't think I want to be cooked. I want to be part of the people cooking.
Sawa.
So lazima tukue pale jikoni, sisi ndio tunapika.
Acha tupike.
Yes, because if you're not
we want to know kama pilipili tunaweka kwa mbali.
Ni chumvi haijatoshea ama ni pilipili iko karibu ama ni kwa mbali. So we have to be on the table, yes, where these decisions are made. And I want to challenge the parliament, especially the parliament at the national level.
Yes.
To enact a public participation policy or a legislation that would guide how we conduct our businesses. We've seen several attempts. Actually, even currently, I know there's a draft before there. There's a draft public participation. There's a bill already, yes, that is in place. But then I looked at that bill and I hope my views would be taken into consideration. You cannot leave the conduct of public participation to be decided upon or to be determined by the agencies. Like if the government agency would be the one to determine how they want to conduct it,
sure, then
why do we need a legislation? It's as good as when we do not have one. There should be a framework, like tell us, we need to have notices within 14 days. We need to have the documents way before the public participation. This is how we're going to handle the issues of inclusivity. This is how we're going to get the feedback. Like, it has to be quite robust. But what I saw, and I gave my suggestions, and I'm hoping that they took them in. And I would also urge the people to look out, because we do not want to end up with a legislation that would be as good as nothing.
I remember we also did submission,
yes,
through CSPEN.
Yes.
And we're also praying that those are taken into consideration. Our prayers are taken into consideration. So it's been great. It's been an honor to host you. And I think at this juncture, ni kusema asante sana. It's been great. I mean, you cannot talk through this tumalize in this
one sitting.
I think we need more and more of these episodes as we progress. So asante sana.
Thank you. And I also want to, just in the same breath, thank you so much for hosting me. And one thing that keeps me awake every day is to see to it that we have an enlightened citizens, because I have the information, but how many people have this information? So all the time I want to get outside there and ensure that people have this information and use this information for the betterment of this country. So I want to thank you so much, Power 254, Kili, and the whole team for hosting me. And I hope that this is just the beginning. I'm looking forward to more of such sessions, even pale kwa mashinani. I'm ready to go. I'll be there let's get to a point where we can say we have citizens who are well informed.
Asante
Thank
sana.
you.
And I will assure you that this is just the beginning. This is the tip on the iceberg.
Yeah.
And active citizens driving change is our mantra.
I'm a change maker.
Asante.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How was that?